Miss Everett admits she cheated on Mr. Southard, but now she's afraid he's repaying her by gambling their wedding fund. Today on Divorce Court. All rise. The Honorable Judge Starr presiding.
Hello, everyone. You may be seated.
Your Honor, the case of Everett v. Southard.
Thank you very much. Ms. Everett and Mr. Southard, thank you for trusting us with your relationship and welcome to Divorce Court. This is a case where the trust has been broken. This couple is determining today whether or not that trust can be repaired. Miss Everett, I understand that you all have been together for 5 years, engaged for 3 years, and you do have a son together, which means there are some stakes here.
Yes.
Our little boy is relying on us to make good decisions today. Miss Everett, tell me why we're in divorce court today.
I made a mistake early in our relationship, and now I just want to find out the truth if he's lying, cheating, and gambling still. I want a lie detector test to find out.
So you admit there was infidelity on your part early in the relationship, am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I cheated on him with a woman, and I treated it like it was nothing because I thought that it wasn't. I didn't think that it was really cheating because it was a female.
And you understand intimate contact with anybody outside of your partner is a violation of the trust between the two partners.
I do now.
Yeah, and the gender doesn't matter. Love is love.
Yeah,
And I can guarantee you, in Mr. Southard's heart hurt just as much. Am I correct, Mr. Southard?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely did.
So you heard Miss Everett say that she's concerned that that mistake early on in the relationship has really just been the thread throughout the relationship. What say you, sir?
The times that we don't are spending together, it's because I'm working. I'm just busy all the time. I do landscaping for my own company, so I'm always working. And
Yeah, because you don't eat unless you kill it, right?
Provide, yeah. So
let's see if this is a miscommunication or if there really is a breach of trust that cannot be fixed. Miss Everett, why don't you take me back to when you first met and then what led to the cheating situation?
Well, I was living with my uncle, and he was working for my uncle at that point. I had been alone for 3 years then because my ex-fiancé got killed, and I wasn't even entertaining the idea of dating. And I met him, and, everything changed because he was different than any other man I've ever met in my life. He was non-judgmental about my past. He was just very understanding and kind.
What was in your past that he overlooked?
Addiction. I was addicted to drugs when I was a teenager and when I was in my 20s.
And you beat that addiction, ma'am?
Yes, I was clean for 8 years, but I relapsed recently.
It sounds like there's been a tremendous amount of struggle going on.
Yes, but he proposed to me in front of my whole family, and we set a goal of $5,000 that we were gonna save together so that we could get married. We were just gonna have a little wedding and a big reception, and the money.
And it's all blown up.
Yeah. When he found out that I cheated on him, because I tried to bring the girl home with me to have a threesome with him.
So you were trying to set up a sister-wife type situation?
I thought that was something that he would enjoy.
What made you think that?
I don't know, because most men do.
What kind of men you be going out with?
Not the right kind, obviously.
Clearly, Ben, you started out your conversation telling me that.
Clearly.
You finally got a man that treated you in a different way, but you went back to junkie shenanigans instead of operated in integrity with him.
I did.
I gotta call you on your mess.
Yes, ma'am. You are absolutely right. And I regret it every day.
That's called standing in your truth. And I admire your ability to do that. Mr. Southard, I have to imagine that whole incident really sort of devastated you. Am I correct?
absolutely, it crushed me and definitely took the trust out of a big part of the trust out of the relationship.
Let me ask you a tough question. Have you forgiven her for it?
No, I haven't.
Have you said to her, you forgave her?
Yes, I have. Like, one minute I forgive you, and then the next minute it just comes right back up.
The one thing that never happens is you don't forget it.
Right.
But the forgiveness has to come because it'll free you also, Mr. Southard. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
you to release it from your heart.
Yeah.
If you know you've been doing the right thing.
Right.
And it will also take the pressure off Miss Everett to know that she is not beginning again, but a new kind of beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that you all are building something together.
Yeah, I don't know if I can trust him because the first time he didn't come in from work, he stayed out until like 4:30 in the morning. And
Yeah, I understand you say he disappeared.
And I definitely thought that he was cheating at this point because he was out all night and our wedding fund was like dwindling down to nothing, like $4,200 was gone out of the
Over the
wedding.
course of how long?
3 months. And
That's a lot of money.
so I was talking to my cousin about it, and I was like, what are these transactions? She was like, oh, these are casino ATM charges. So one night he wasn't home, and it's like 3 in the morning, so she gives me her car, and I went to the casino, and he was at the blackjack table, and I walked over, and I took all of his chips, and I went and cashed them in. And I was leaving, and, you know, he came out, and we had an argument in the parking lot, and
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't gamble or I don't go to the casino, because I do.
You all were saving for
Our
your wedding.
wedding, yeah.
Was it a community pot of money? This is the wedding pot right here?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I'm putting in 75%, she's putting in.
But is that the agreement that
And I
she
take care
works
of the
out of the
bill.
home and you work outside?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
the agreement in your family?
Yes, ma'am.
So you may be putting in 75% of the finances, but she's probably putting in 75% of the sweat equity. Wouldn't you agree?
Now that you brought it to my attention, yeah, absolutely.
That's my job, Mr. Son.
Absolutely.
So the point is, you all should have had a conversation about money going out of that account, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you say she relapsed, she started using drugs again?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I get a phone call from one of her family members, and there's something wrong with her. She's acting funny. So I get home, and she's relapsed.
I relapsed because I was feeling neglected and hurt.
Another reason that the trust issue was like getting harder is because she ended up relapsing, and it just put me right back in the same spot I was in as a juvenile. Like, I grew up in a messed up home, homeless, and I didn't want to put our son into that predicament. You know.
When you say she relapsed, she started using drugs again?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I get a phone call from one of her family members, and they're telling me to come home, and there's something wrong with her. She's acting funny. So I get home, and she's relapsed.
I relapsed because I was feeling neglected and hurt all the time. And I guess that's just something that I ran back to. And I had a messed up childhood as well. My father died of a heroin overdose when I was 10, and I thought that that was normal. So that's how I grew up. Like, it took my first son to show me that that's not what life is all about.
So how long had you been clean before this relapse?
8 years.
So, Miss Everett, you knew exactly what you were doing and what path you were going down,
I did.
because you dug yourself out of hell. Then you put yourself right back in. Tough question. Are you clean now?
I've been clean for 7 months.
Have you had assistance with rehabilitation during these 7 months?
I went to a 28-day rehab.
So you really did make an effort.
Yes.
And Mr. Southard, you know about this rehab that she tried?
Absolutely. Yes, I did. We actually had an intervention with her family and myself. So we sat down and we started telling her what's going on with our feelings about it. And we all broke down, and she stepped up and did the right thing. That's what built a little bit of my trust back. Next thing you know, it just feels like it's going back to square one. Just no communication, no It don't feel right. Yeah.
It's because he's supposed to have had the money back in the account for our wedding, and it's just not there, and there's no reason that it shouldn't be.
I think that money represents movement forward in your relationship, and until he feels this relationship is actually moving forward, there's no reason to have a wedding fund.
That makes sense.
Now, it's not right for him to have taken the money out, not whatsoever.
It's not. I think he's still gambling.
Mr. Southard, are you still gambling?
I am. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I don't lie to my fiancé. That's what brought
So
us
I
here.
understand Miss Everett went to 28-day rehab. Have you sought any assistance for your gambling addiction?
No, not at the time.
Why
or
not?
now. Because I feel like I don't have a gambling addiction, more or less. I feel like I have a just trying to erase and get away addiction.
That's called an addiction. Yeah, and people who have an addictive personality, it can be weight,
Right.
it can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be gambling, it can be sex. It's anything taken to the extreme that leads you down a path that is not normal,
Right.
done on a repetitive and continuing basis.
Yeah. I could say I'm addicted to gambling. Yeah,
There you go.
Absolutely.
So that means that you could use some help yourself.
I could.
But the real problem is at the foundation of your relationship. Neither one of you have gotten over what occurred very early in this relationship.
I just want him to forgive me.
You asked Mr. Southard to take a polygraph examination.
I did.
Mr. Yarborough, you asked, since learning of your fiancé's infidelity, have you had sexual intercourse or contact with any woman besides your fiancé?
That is correct.
What did the results indicate?
The polygraph examination results indicated
You asked Mr. Southard to take a polygraph examination.
I did.
Do you see that as a step towards rebuilding trust?
I do.
Mr. Southard, you decided you wanted to take this polygraph examination.
Absolutely.
So that means that there is something there that you think can be salvaged.
Yes.
Let's ask the expert to join us.
Good day, Your Honor.
Good day, Mr. Yarborough. Will you please introduce yourself for the court?
My name is John Yarborough. I'm a certified polygraph examiner and a member of the American Polygraph Association. I've conducted hundreds of polygraph examinations for law enforcement and other public safety agencies throughout the state, as well as professional and private party polygraphs.
So I find you to be more than qualified to provide services to this court. And you and I have worked together for a while now, so I know you know what you're doing.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Yarborough, you sat down with Mr. Southard, who willingly participated in a polygraph examination performed by you, and you asked two questions, as I understand.
That is correct.
Question one, you asked Mr. Southard, since learning of your fiancé's infidelity, have you had sexual intercourse or contact with any woman besides your fiancé?
That is correct.
What was Mr. Southard's answer?
Mr. Southern answered no.
What did the results indicate?
The polygraph examination results indicated no deception noted to that question.
So he told the truth.
Correct.
The second question, Mr. Yarborough, we asked Mr. Southard, have you gambled or been to a casino in the last 3 months?
That is correct.
What was Mr. Southard's answer?
Mr. Southern answered during the pre-exam questionnaire that he had made a self-admission that he had.
Similar to the self-admission that he made right here in court.
Yes, ma'am.
So there was no need to get test results for that second question.
Exactly. If
What-
they're admitting to it during the pre-test portion of the exam, there's no reason to undergo the polygraph examination for that question.
Thank you, sir. This court appreciates and thanks you for
Well,
your
thank you,
service.
Your Honor.
Ms. Everett, it's clear to me that Mr. Southard is a truthful person when it comes to his issues. And it's not infidelity. That's not an issue with him.
Oh, God.
And in all honesty, the gambling is as a result of unresolved issues. Mr. Southard, everything that you have done up until this point seems very responsible and very forgiving and very tolerant. The fact that you initiated an intervention with Ms. Everett's family, you helped her get into rehab, forgave her for an indiscretion early on in your relationship, says to me that this is someone you actually love. Am I correct?
Absolutely, 100%, if not more.
But Mr. Southard, you have not dealt with the hurt you felt when she was indiscreet, when she violated your trust. You all have not effectively dealt with that together as a couple.
No, not yet.
You say you've gotten over it, but anything that she does triggers you to do something out of the ordinary. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Ms. Everett, are you seeing what this pattern is?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
So you know what that means. That means if you want any hope of this relationship, it's necessary for you all to deal with those underlying issues. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Everett, do you want this relationship to work?
More than anything,
Do you love this man?
I do.
Mr. Southard, do you want this relationship to work?
Absolutely.
Do you love this woman?
Absolutely.
So it's very clear. Trust is gained in drops and lost in buckets. So you just swoop it right out of the relationship. It's time for you all to start dropping something in the trust bucket again. And I think you're going to need some help to do that. I don't think you are emotionally equipped to do this on your own, but the court has faith that you want to do it. Would you like some assistance to help you rebuild the trust?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Anything will help. Anything.
As long as you're both willing to come to this with open hearts and solution-oriented minds. Am I correct, Ms. Everett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Southard?
Yes, ma'am.
It's really imperative, though, that as you begin this process, you start to remove the pain of what started this back in the day. If you say you want to get through it, Mr. Southard, you cannot use it as a trigger. You can't throw it in her face.
Right.
And you can't use it to excuse behavior that is devastating you.
Right, yeah.
And Miss Everett, you have to release it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pull your shoulders up. You are not the woman wearing a scarlet letter. You made a mistake. It was a mistake that could have devastated a relationship. But if you continue to walk in that guilt, it's going to be triggering for Mr. Southard.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand.
It's time for you to say, I'm going to be the woman you deserve, but I'm also going to be the woman I deserve to be. So it's time for you to pull your chin up and stop walking around like you have a scarlet letter on your chest. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to get some help. Mr. Southern, you shared that you are struggling with gambling,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is indeed an addiction. Ms. Everett, you shared that you continue to struggle with substance abuse, even though you've been clean now for several months.
It's an everyday struggle.
Absolutely. This court has spoken to Dr. Maya Cullins, who specializes in mental health and addiction. She has been so helpful to this court, and we've spoken to her, and she has agreed to offer you both free therapy sessions to help you individually with your addictive personalities and to help you as a family try to repair trust. Would you be willing to participate in therapy sessions with Dr. Cullins?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
This court is ordering those therapy sessions and wishing the two of you a tremendous amount of luck with prayers and with a rebuilding of trust. I expect to get an invitation to this wedding one day.
Thank you.
That's my girl.